Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I am going to do a swipe today and I have no preconceived definite thing in my mind. I usually just like to kind of let the spirit flow and just whatever comes, comes. So I just know I wanted to swipe. I haven't done a swipe in a while and I know that people love my swipes, and I'm hoping I can make something beautiful today. And I'm painting on a different thing than I typically painted on. This is a Frederick's watercolor canvas board. It says it's formulated acid-free gessoed for all water-based paints, rigid, non-warping, hard board core. It's an 18 by 24 inches. And there's a tip at the bottom of the thing that came inside the package. It says, 10 minutes before you paint, wipe down firmly the entire surface of the canvas with a very wet cloth. This will allow for more spontaneous transfer of the paint to the canvas. But since I'm doing fluid art, I'm not going to wet it down because I'm going to be putting wet paint on it anyway, but it's a flat board like a canvas panel. So it says Frederick's on the back. Archival watercolor canvas with hardboard core. So it is pretty hefty. You can't really bend it much at all. Hardly. It's got very little give. So it's stronger than a canvas panel, and I'm sure I paid more than what you would pay for a canvas panel. This is 18 by 24. And I'm going to put down a white base coat, and with swiping intentionally, when I do intentional swipes, I do not necessarily put on a lot of paint. There's not a lot of runoff or drips. So keep that in mind. This is a Wilton icing fondant spreader. I'm going to spread this paint basically just to get it to cover the primed board as is right now. And it's a brighter white than the primer too, which I like the brighter white. This surface is not as textured as a canvas is, or a canvas panel. It's a little smoother, so I think that is a plus, because you know how we're always doing pours and you let it dry and you can, kind of see down to the canvas and see the texture of the canvas. So that's nice that this is a little smoother. It's not as satiny smooth as like painting on a wooden cradled board panel, but it's pretty smooth. So I'm just putting on a coat to cover the primer and to give myself a wet surface. And with a fondant spreader, sometimes you will have a little bit of a suction. You just have to kind of go at it with a lighter touch to get it not to kind of want to stick to your canvas from the suction of it. It's a little harder on the corners, especially I'm inside of a plastic tray as well, because I didn't want to be dripping on my table today that has a fresh piece of white butcher paper, and I'm doing a live auction tonight, and I didn't want paint all over my table. So I'm using all DecoArt paints today. They are kind of my go-to for my squeeze bottles, and I'm not saying that I don't add other brands into my squeeze bottles if I have some leftover paints, because I always keep my bottles filled up, so I don't have any problem mixing brands in a squeeze bottle. So I'm using the DecoArt 2-ounce craft bottles. If you do 2 ounces of this, you mix it with 2 ounces of Floetrol. It's always a 1-to-1 ratio. You do not need to add water with DecoArt unless you're using a premium DecoArt paint that's in a tube, which is a little thicker, or sometimes the metallics need water added. But it's just a 1-to-1 ratio, and that is it. You don't have to really add anything else. So if you have 4 ounces of paint mixture, then you add 4 ounces of Spot On Treadmill lubricant, which is 100% silicone, to your cup, mix it all up, and then transfer it into your squeeze bottle. And I have these wonderful squeeze bottles that have the narrow tip, and they have screw-on lids, so they make my life very easy with just being able to control it a little bit better. So the colors I'm using are the Desert Turquoise, Teal Mint, which is a little greener. This is Sea Breeze, and Bright Blue, Ultra Blue Deep. There's one that's like a navy blue. I probably mix this one together. It's kind of a cream color with a little brown, burnt raw or burnt sienna in it, raw umber maybe. This is a mixture of their gold and brass together, and copper. So I want to keep it in the bluish tones and metallics, I think. And then my white, I generally always use the Artist Loft white flow acrylic. It is my go-to for my white base. I use it on everything. There's no confusion about what I used on any painting. On the white and black, it's always going to be Artist Loft. Got a few little bubbles. I don't really use my torch for much else. You definitely don't need it when you're doing these intentional swipes either. And I'm adding a little paint where I've stuck my finger in. But when you do a light skim coat like this on your canvas, it doesn't take it long to dry. So this is not like an acrylic pour where you have to wait days for it to dry. It will dry sometimes in hours, and definitely by overnight, because you don't have runoff and drips, and it's not a huge thickness of paint. That's why I thought this would work really well for this canvas board that I'm trying out of Frederick's, because it is a panel, but it's a little heavier duty, so I thought it would be a good one to try on. I have some tools and I'm not sure. I always kind of just follow my gut when I'm doing a painting. I've got just plastic paint scrapers, and one is, I don't know, about 5 inches or 6 inches across. Then one of them is about 4 inches. I've got this palette knife. I love my little handy oval knife that I get from Jerry's Artorama. I've got this to use. I've got a straw to blow with and a credit card to swipe with. So I am just going to get ready to paint here. I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to create. The thing is you always layer your colors and swipe, and every time you swipe, you wipe your tool off so you don't dirty up the next swipe. Always wipe every time you swipe. So I think I'm done. I've got a little bleeding going on with the copper into the white, and part of the white is dry or drier and part is still wet, so I'm just going to let it totally dry and then I can fill it back in with the white to clean up the edges. That is my plan. And you're probably saying, you know, why did you do the copper things? Because I want it just to be abstract. I don't want it to feel like anything specific. So I added in the whimsy of the copper just to, because. No reason. It's just because. So I think I'm done. I didn't use any of the colors otherwise that I had on the side of the tray here. So I stuck within the colors I was initially going to use. And so again, this is navy and a Prussian blue mixed together, bright blue, desert turquoise, teal mint, sea breeze, vintage brass and metallic gold, and a cream color I made with a little burnt umber or raw sienna in it and white. And then their lovely metallic copper. And this is it. Thought if I want to do anything else, I kind of want to take this off the edge here, but I don't want to ruin, but I don't like this white gap here. So I may just kind of go in the opposite direction of what I swiped. I'll just swipe it out in the opposite direction maybe with the same color so it kind of feels the same. I'm going to use a way less paint on this, and realizing you probably can't see it, so just adding a little of the colors. Turn it back so you can see this left edge, and then I'll just come over with my tool and swipe slightly that way. This just puts some color here on the edge where I'm not crazy about it being just white. And I can kind of scoot things with my scraper a bit, pull up a little bit of cells, so I'm just kind of splashing it a bit with the palette knife just to get some cells going on. I like that better without that white gap on the left end. So I'm going to pick this up. Like I said, it's already dried on this corner here. So it's kind of a wave, but it's not palm fronds, it's not waves, it's just abstract. So I like it. I'll clean up some of the lines where the copper is bleeding a bit into the white, but otherwise I'll leave it as is. So there it is. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. That means you liked it. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Click on the little bell at the bottom right and you'll get notifications when I post new videos. Check out all the links below the video where it says show more, or on your mobile device it's a down arrow, and there'll be more information at the bottom with paint colors, links to my Facebook page and Patreon and PayPal, and my online courses that I'm now teaching about how to do acrylic painting, and like regular acrylic painting like flowers and birds and abstracts and that kind of thing. I started an online tutorial platform, so click on the link below if you want to check that out. I've got one class and I'll be adding one every couple of weeks, so there'll be 24 classes in 1 year, and you can sign up per class, per month, every 6 months, or for a year. So thanks a bunch, and I will see you on the next round. Thanks. Bye-bye.